So in life, there's good problems to have. And in this video, we're going to be talking about one of those. Which is the right MPC for you to buy? Because regardless of which MPC you get, it's going to be an awesome machine and it's going to spark some creativity. Now for this video, we're leaving the MPC X out of it. That's in its own separate category, own price point. It's ginormous. But in this video, we're talking about the MPC 1 versus the MPC Live 2. Now they both have some advantages, both have some disadvantages. So in this video, we're going to check them out in 4 different categories: the layout, the portability, the connectivity, and the expandability. Let's see which MPC is right for you. First, let's have a look at the layout of the 2 units. Both have access to the very same functionality, including 4 Q-Link knobs, a main encoder knob, a 7-inch touchscreen, 16 pads, and an array of buttons. But when we zoom out and look at the overall layout, the MPC 1 really stands apart. With the majority of the buttons located around the main encoder on the right side, it gives you a very comfortable position for your hand to rest. You can access nearly all the functionality of the buttons, and it's easier to develop muscle memory, which leads to a quicker workflow. I find that the transport in the lower right is more comfortable than the transport in the middle of the MPC Live 2. Also, and this is just my personal opinion, the click of the harder plastic buttons on the MPC 1 is a little bit more satisfying compared to the rubberized click of the MPC Live 2 buttons. Now, even though the 1 has a superior layout, in my opinion, the one massive miss of that is the volume knob. Looking here at the Live 2, the placement is perfect. You can reach in the upper left-hand corner and adjust the volume at any time. Whereas on the 1, you have to reach around and find a much smaller volume knob. I have taken the 1 apart, and this volume knob is soldered right to the main board. But if anybody watching this has a 3D printer and experience with design, I have a couple of ideas of how we could create a little modification that would then move the volume knob to the top. So leave a comment below because we could work together and try and figure something out. So for the layout, I'd have to say that goes to the MPC 1.
Yay!
Now, portability. For this, each of us has to really define what portability is to us. Is it being able to work anywhere as easily as possible? Well, then the Live 2 wins hands down because it has a built-in battery and a built-in speaker. You don't need anything else besides a charged battery. You can start up, turn on the speakers, and start creating right on the spot. However, if portability is more size and weight related, then the 1 takes the lead in this department. It comes in at 4.7 pounds compared to the Live coming in at 7.45 pounds. And that 2.75 pounds can make a pretty big difference when you're traveling. Also, the Live 2 is 16.2 inches at its longest point, so you might not be able to transport it depending on how big your backpack is. The compact size of the 1 is much easier to carry, throw in a backpack, pack it in clothes on a carry-on, and bring it with you. So let's say you wanted to then turn the MPC 1 into a Live 2 by adding on a battery and a speaker. What would our weight be with that? A popular battery pack, the XT Power Bank, comes in at 2 pounds, and if we add a small Bluetooth speaker like, let's say, a Bose SoundLink at 1.2 pounds, well, we're coming in at a little bit more overall weight. However, the argument could be made that you have much more functionality of all these different components with them being separate. You could use the speaker almost anywhere, connect it to your phone, whereas the Live 2 speaker is only used on the MPC. You could also say that it would be easier to pack all 3 of these items separately instead of the large footprint of the Live 2. So for portability, on this, I say we call it a tie. Connectivity, well, obviously this goes right to the Live 2, technically. Looking at them together, we can see the obvious advantages of the Live 2. It has 6 outs compared to 2 outs. It has Wi-Fi. It has 2 USBs, but here you can see that adding a cheap USB hub on the bottom of the MPC 1 can solve that. It has 2 MIDI ins and outs compared to just 1 on the 1. The Live 2 also has a phono in for directly connecting a turntable to the unit for sampling. So the Live 2 obviously wins, but With the ability to carry up to 32 ins and outs over the USB with a class-compliant mixer, these units can essentially handle the majority of the ins and outs inside of a studio that you would ever need. So, raw connectivity, this goes to the Live 2, but remember there's always a workaround, and on either unit you could connect 32 channels in and out using a class-compliant mixer. And finally, expandability. The Live 2 has a massive advantage of an SSD bay at the bottom where you could put 2 terabytes of storage. It also has an SD slot, which is the only expandability option on the MPC 1. You can get a 1 terabyte SD card, so you should have plenty of space on either unit, but I have had many occasions where I put it into my backpack with the bottom down, which clicks on the SD card, and when I pull out the unit, the SD card is then left at the bottom of the backpack. You have to fish around for it and throw it back in. So on paper, the MPC Live 2 wins with superior connectivity, better expandability, whereas the One only really excels in the layout. So after checking both of the units out, if I had to just choose one today to pick my sole MPC, it would have to be the little guy, the MPC 1, solely based on the fact of this layout right here. It is just become my standard way of operating. I can still use the MPC Live 2, don't get me wrong, it's an incredible machine, but this is so comfortable. I love the compact size, and I also like the fact that I can have more of a modular system. I can add the battery, I can add the speaker if I want, but it's not always attached. I do have a light portable unit that I can bring with the power supply and some headphones anywhere I want, and just have something a little bit easier to travel with. So I hope that helped you pick out which MPC you want to use. Now, if you already have an MPC, leave a comment below on which one you have and why you chose it. And on that note, grab whichever MPC you have and go make something cool.